So much for that plan. Hello and welcome back to the June May channel. My name is Paula Jean, and my plans went completely off the rails these last couple of weeks. So when I last left you, I was just finishing up my lark frock for my dear friend's wedding and heading to Montreal. So that happened. It was amazing. It was so just beautiful, lovely, soul affirming. Got to see and hang out and dance with and eat with so many friends that we haven't seen for a long time. And it was just such a beautiful event that I didn't even take my phone out of my purse to take pictures or anything like that. We all just had such a wonderful time being together, and it was the perfect antidote for everything that's going on in the world right now. So yeah, really enjoyed ourselves. I got a lot of compliments on my dress, and it was so comfortable. I could sit, stand, eat, dance in it. So that was just, the whole thing was just magical. Cut to, my husband gets a gig kind of out of the blue, and what was supposed to be a 2-week trip visiting family and friends in Montreal and Toronto turned into a 3-week trip, taking 5 different flights to 3 different cities and staying in 4 different places. And, you know, it was all good and everything, but also quite exhausting. And so by the time we got back to LA, say it with me, I got sick. But now that I am feeling much better, I am very excited to work on my Ines dress. And if you'll remember from my last 2 videos, my plan was to make it out of this really great cotton sateen with these butterscotch circles on it. However, the weather is still pretty warm here, like it's warm in the afternoons and sunny, but it is getting cooler, and I really don't have much footwear or layers to wear with something like this that would carry me through the fall and winter. So if I made it out of this, I probably wouldn't be able to really wear it until the spring. And that is just not how I like to sew. So even though I still think that the dress would look great in this fabric, it is going back on the shelf. This poor fabric. The saga continues. But I have another plan. Since my muslin had turned out so well, except for being a little bit big, and because the fabric was actually a 100% cotton duvet cover that's got a bit of a chunky weave to it and some structure, I have decided to actually use that muslin, recut all of the pieces, and over dye the fabric. So that's what my Ines dress is going to be made out of. I am going to make some other modifications to it other than over dyeing it. So I'm gonna tell you about those. So before my trip, I had made all of the adjustments to the pattern, and that involved basically kind of taking it in from the waist down to the hem. I had to remove about 3.5 inches, and I decided to do that by taking off 1/8 of an inch off of each side of each pattern piece. And I know that sounds very painstaking, and it was, but I really felt like this was the right way to go about this adjustment. So did that to all 7 pieces, just taking it in at the waist all the way down to the hem, and then grading it to 0 to the bust. And then I also made the bust curve and the shoulder strap adjustments. I had originally made the muslin with my water-soluble thread, so I was able to just throw the dress in a short rinse cycle so that it all came apart. And once those pieces were dried and ironed, I could recut the pieces. So I've got the dress mostly put together, actually. I've got all of the front put together. I've got the back all put together. I've sewn the lining, which I am only doing a partial lining because I'm using the remnants of the lining that I used for my lark frock, and I didn't have enough of it to do a full lining, but I think it's going to be fine to just have it be just below the hips because it's mostly to finish the neckline and the armholes. So I think that that's going to be fine. fine. And because I'm going to be over dyeing this, I'm not really too concerned about how the color is going to turn out. On the subject of dyeing, I needed to figure out what color I was going to dye it before I started sewing it together, because I do like to match my serging thread, and I needed to serge every single piece of this dress because this fabric is kind of a looser, chunkier weave, and it's really prone to fraying. So I was very disappointed to learn that the art supply store that I usually get my favorite dye, which is the I Dye by Jacquard, they no longer carry it in the store, and it's still available online and stuff. I just didn't want to wait for or pay for shipping. So I just popped over to Michael's to get some RIT dye, and I decided on the color Canyon. It's this really cool, kind of a dusty, deep coral. And when I got home with it, I put just a drop of it in some boiling water. I just wanted to get an idea of what the color was going to be. So I did just this little strip, and I really like it. It'll likely turn out either a little bit lighter or a little bit darker than this, but this was enough for me to go off of for fabric matching. I didn't have an exact match, but I found something that was kind of the same value. So this is more of a purpley mauve, but I find that when I'm trying to coordinate thread, it's better to go with something of a similar value than something that is in the same family but way darker or way lighter. So that's why I went with this purple serging thread. So one of the modifications that I am making is adding pockets, and I'm using my favorite side seam pocket pattern, which is the one from the Milton Pinafore, which is also designed by Just Patterns, same pattern maker as the Ines Dress. Even though I don't have a waist seam to catch the upper part of the pocket into, which is kind of how this is designed, because it has so many seams down the front, it's sort of like a corseted style. So I was pretty confident that there would be one that I could tack the top and bottom of the pocket to, so I'm not going to have that floppy side seam pocket issue that sometimes happens. And the other change that I'm making is the zipper. So this is supposed to close up in the center back with an invisible zipper. Again, I did not have one in this Canyon color family. I also don't know how much darker or lighter this is going to turn out. So I've decided to try my hand at an exposed zipper. Now I've done this on like purses and bags and stuff where you have like the window that's cut out and you can see the zipper tape, but I've never done it on a garment or in a seam. So I had in my stash this metal zipper that is this burgundy color, and I think this is going to look really nice against the Canyon color. This is a separating zipper, so I'm going to have to turn it into a closed zipper. And in order to do that, I found in my stash this guy. I, for some reason, pulled this out of a purse that was falling apart several years ago. And if you are a Gen X kid like me and you were a teenager in the 80s, you might remember the word grody. Grody. I don't know why I decided to keep it. This is maybe part of a segment that should be called, is she a maker or is she a hoarder? I don't know, but I did find it, and I am thinking / hoping / choosing to believe that I saved this for parts. So I'm just going to confirm my arbitrary belief that that's what I saved this for, and I'm going to use this bottom zipper stop to make a zipper that is the length that I will need for that exposed zipper. Like I said, I've never done this before, so I found a really great tutorial on the YouTube channel of Professor Pincushion. So I will link that down below. I'll also kind of give you an overview of how I'm doing it, but I am not a teacher, so if what I am doing doesn't make sense to you, go check out that video. So I am getting ready to install this zipper. I'm going to install it actually before I put the side seams together on the dress. I think that'll be easier, and then we'll move forward with the construction and the dyeing. After marking the length of zipper that I needed, I then set about to remove this zipper stop. I used a cheap pair of zipper pliers to do this, and this was actually much more tedious than I thought it was going to be because the little claws at the end of that stop were actually quite long and really held in there really well. I used my screwdriver from my sewing machine to flatten out the claws so that I could then press it into the zipper over the teeth. And I also used my screwdriver to fold those claws over the teeth. I could then cut off the excess length of zipper tape, and I used my pliers again to remove all of the little zipper teeth below the stop. I also sealed the ends with a lighter, and I decided to slip stitch the end of the zipper tape closed just so that I could have a cleaner finish. Okay, so I just want to show you an example of what it's going to look like when it's on the dress. This is the lining because I've already prepared this, did that as a little bit of a trial. So it's going to be this open little rectangle, and the zipper is going to show through with some of the zipper tape to get that nice contrast going. So how this was done, according to that Professor Pincushion video, is you start by figuring out how much of the zipper tape you want to show. So you can take a little ruler or a seam gauge. I'm using this little seam gauge, and you start by measuring from the center of the zipper tape to how much you want showing. And I know this is kind of dark on dark here, but what I get is 1/4 of an inch from the center of the zipper teeth to the amount that I want showing, which is only about 1/8 of an inch of the zipper tape. You then take that measurement and add it to your seam allowance. So I have a 3/8 inch seam allowance here. So adding 1/4 of an inch to that makes that 5/8 of an inch. So I drew a box 5/8 of an inch on each side of the center back here, drew a box down here to the zipper notch, and then I did a stitching line along that line that I drew. So that shows on the other side. The next step for this is to, from the bottom of the box here, all the way down the rest of the center back, I'm going to sew that 3/8 of an inch seam. So this is the seam that I sewed, and by the way, there is interfacing along the center back here, just until just past where the zipper is going to go. So I've sewn that seam, I've pressed it open just up to the bottom of the box, and now I'm going to clip to each of these corners. Like that. So clipping all the way into the corner without cutting through the stitching. And now I'm going to press all of this seam allowance back, and I'm going to make sure that my guide line, my stitching line, is also going to be just under that fold. And I'm also going to press the bottom part of the box down. All right, so I've got my little flanges on the side here pressed, and I've sewn that little bottom of the box down so that I've kept these little diagonal ears here. And now I'm going to flip this over to the right side. So then you take the zipper right side up, and you place it where just above the bottom of that box right there, and center it, and then I'm going to stitch it down right along that stitching line that I have right here that I made at the bottom of the box. So I've got that sewn across there. So my first stage of attachment is done, and then I'm going to flip this over to the right side, and I've got Wonder Tape on both sides of these seam allowances here, which is what is suggested in the video So I'm going to, I'm actually going to do it off camera, just so that I can get a better angle on it. So I'm going to take the backing off of the Wonder Tape, and I'm going to tape it down in place along that 1/8 inch line there that's just on the other side, on either side of the zipper tape. So I'm going to place those down to place my zipper, and then I'm going to flip it over, and where that stitching line is, the guide line, I'm going to stitch exactly over that. And then I should have a beautiful exposed contrast zipper. We will see. You guys, I am gonna call this a very, very solid, not bad at all for my first exposed inseam zipper. It was a little bit tedious. I would totally do it again. That tutorial totally helped me. Very happy with the consistency of the width on either side of the zipper. I am happy with how the bottom turned out. Not really any puckering at all. I have a tiny, 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 tiny little thing right there, but I think I'm going to be able to press that out, and by the time this is all over dyed, you're not even going to notice it. But yeah, I think this looks awesome. So I am very excited now to get this all put together and try it on. And she's finished. I finished sewing it last night. I just wanted to show you guys how all of the fitting adjustments worked out before I throw it in the dye bath, because who knows, things may go all haywire when that happens. But I am very happy with how this fit is. The bust adjustments and the bust curve, this now fits so nicely around here that I don't even need to wear a bra with it, which is really exciting because that doesn't happen for very many garments on me. And this doesn't even have any boning or anything. And this is much more the intended fit of the dress. So all of those little painstaking removals of that 1/8 of an inch on each panel was totally worth it to me. And of course, love the pockets, always. And let's just get a little shot. Can you see? Yeah, I think so. You can see I'm so happy with that exposed zipper, and I think it's gonna look so pretty with that color. So that's it, here it is. And let's get this baby in the bath. Did this turn out a little darker than I was expecting? Yes. Am I mad about it? Not even a little bit. I actually think that this dark rusty red color looks better on me than the lighter coral would have, so that's a win. I did think that the zipper would contrast a little bit more with the lighter coral, but I'm also really happy with how it coordinates with this darker color. And I would not be doing this dress justice if I did not highlight just a few of the many, many layering and footwear options that look great with it. So I think this is going to be a super multi-season dress. Not bad for a cotton duvet cover that I got for free from our local Buy Nothing group, and $10 worth of dye fixings, which I actually got for $5 because I had a coupon. I had also thrown in the dye bath a couple of long lengths of the fabric. I thought, you know, sometime down the road, I can foresee a time where I might want to cut off the top and just make a skirt out of it. So I dyed a couple of lengths that I knew were long enough that I could make a waistband at some point in the future if I want, or just to have some extra fabric in case I need to make a repair on it or something. So feel free to leave a comment down below. So many dogs are barking in the neighborhood right now, so that is my cue to wrap this up. But do let me know what you think of my dye experiment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you or somebody that you know might like this kind of thing. And in the meantime, take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.